If God is triune, and if it is necessary to believe in the Trinity in order to be saved, how then do we account for the fact that the Old Testament does not reveal the doctrine of the Trinity?
I absolutely deny that the Jews did not know that God is triune. The doctrine of the Trinity is a fundamental article of the true religion. It is a salvific doctrine. One must believe in God triune for salvation. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has full understanding of him. They'll grow in their understanding, but they have to have a rudimentary knowledge of God as Father, Son, and Spirit. That's the whole part of the initiatory rite of baptism into the triune name. And what is a fundamental truth doesn't admit of addition or diminution. Right? You can't say something's fundamental today that wasn't fundamental before. The way of salvation is the same in all ages. Abraham was saved through the same gospel, believing the same gospel that we're saved through believing. That's the point Paul makes in Romans 4. That's the point he makes in Galatians 3. That's the point that's made in Hebrews 4. They had the gospel preached to them, but they weren't saved because they didn't mix what they heard with faith. So it's the same message all the way through. The Trinity is all over the Old Testament. Exodus 24, what does it say? 24:1. God speaking to Moses says, "Come up the mountain to Jehovah." Come up the mountain to the Lord. Why does the Lord speak that way? As though the Lord to whom Moses is invited to come is another. He says it again in the passage more than once. He speaks about the Lord to whom Moses is to come as another. And later in the text, it speaks of Moses actually seeing the God of Israel. So not only does the Lord appear as someone distinct from the Lord, but he appears before him in a visible, palpable manner, in a human form. Now, who is this? Well, even if you read the Talmudic material where they're trying to suppress what earlier Jews believed, they say that this figure is the one spoken of in the prior chapter as the Malach Yahweh, right? The Malach Yehovah, which means the messenger of the Lord. The word messenger doesn't mean, or Malach doesn't mean angel in Hebrew. It can refer to what we ordinarily mean by messengers or by angels, but it's not what the word itself means. It's a functional term, not an ontological term. Whenever the Old Testament talks about the Malach Yahweh, it's talking about a divine theophany. He's called the God of Israel in Exodus 24 when it says Moses saw the God of Israel. The Talmud admits that this is the same figure that Moses saw. The problem is they have to have a falling out with themselves when they say that it's not a divine person who's being called. They're saying that he's being called the Lord, even though it's not really the Lord. Elsewhere in the Talmud, it admits that the divine name, the covenant name of God, is incommunicable. It's referred to as the Shem HaMaforesh and the Shem HaMayahud, which means the unique name, the distinctive name, the name that belongs to the true God alone and cannot be given to creatures. It's one thing to call a creature Elohim or the like, but to call any creature by the Tetragrammaton is utter blasphemy. The Talmud says that in numerous places, but has a falling out with it here because it doesn't know how to get around this problem. But what do earlier Jews say about this? What do Second Temple Jews say about this? They say that when the Lord is telling Moses to come up to the Lord, they interpret this second figure called Lord as the Memra, or the Logos, the word of the Lord. Over and over again, this figure is called the Memra, the word, the Dabar in Hebrew. So the Trinity is all over the Old Testament. It's all over Second Temple Jewish writings. In fact, think of the Book of Wisdom. When it says, when the night of Passover was far spent, your all-powerful word leapt from heaven's royal throne and bounded like a fierce warrior into the doomed land. And then it says he swung the sharp sword of his inexorable decree. His head reached to heaven while his feet were upon the earth. So here is this figure portrayed as a magnificently large figure in his theophanic appearance, who's got feet that step on the earth, and his head reaches to the heavens, and he's called the Word of God. And where is his proper abode? Where does he come from? Not merely heaven, but heaven's royal throne. In fact, he's called your all-powerful word. When the night of Passover was half spent, your all-powerful word, your logos, leapt from heaven's royal throne into the doomed land. This is all over Jewish writings because it's all over the Tanakh. It's all over the Torah.